Why do good people lose? Let me say something that is going to make you uncomfortable. The nicest person in your office is probably not the most successful one. The most honest person in your friend group is probably not the most influential one. And the person who works the hardest, who never complains, who always puts others first, is probably not the one getting the best opportunities. You already know this is true. You have seen it. Maybe you have lived it. And here is the question that keeps coming back. Why? Why does the system seem to reward the wrong people? Why does the person who plays nice finish last while the one who plays differently gets ahead? The easy answer is to say the world is unfair. And maybe it is, but that answer is useless because it gives you nothing to work with. The real answer is harder to hear. Good people do not lose because the world is unfair. Good people lose because they are playing by a set of rules that nobody else agreed to follow. And until you understand what those rules that actually you will keep losing to people who understood the game long before you did. The approval trap. There is a belief that most good people carry without knowing it. It sounds like this. If I do the right thing, people will notice. If I work hard enough, the right doors will open. If I am honest, loyal, and fair, the people around me will treat me the same way. This belief is not wrong in a moral sense. It is wrong in a strategic one, because it assumes that the world operates on a ledger, that goodness gets recorded somewhere and eventually paid back. It does not work that way. And the reason it does not is not because people are corrupt or the system is broken. It is because of something much more fundamental about how human attention and power actually move. Here is the psychological reality underneath why good people lose. Good people are, almost by definition, heavily invested in being seen as good. They want to be liked. They want to be perceived as fair, as kind, as the person who never causes problems. And that investment in being seen a certain way becomes the thing that costs them everything. Here is how it happens. When a good person is in a conflict, their first instinct is not to win. It is to be reasonable. They soften their position so the other person does not feel attacked. They acknowledge the other side of the argument, even when the other side is wrong. They apologize faster than the situation requires because the discomfort of conflict feels worse than being right. And while the good person is doing all of this, the person across from them is doing one thing: advancing. Because the person across from them is not managing how they are perceived in this moment. And those are two completely different games. The good person is playing a social game. The other person is playing a strategic one. And social games and strategic games have different rules, different currencies, and almost always produce different results. This is the approval trap. The good person has unconsciously decided that maintaining their image as a good person is more important than protecting their actual interests. So every time a real conflict arises, they negotiate against themselves before the conversation even starts. They give ground preemptively. They over-explain. They leave space for the other person to be right even when they are not. Because being right feels dangerous. Being right means someone else is wrong, and a person who is wrong might not like you anymore. And a good person at their core needs to be liked. That need is the trap, not their kindness, not their honesty, not their values. The need for approval that lives underneath those things and quietly shapes every decision they make. Daniel and Rachel. Two people joined the same company in the same month. Daniel and Rachel, both talented, both ambitious, both committed to doing good work. Daniel is the kind of person everyone immediately likes. He helps colleagues without being asked. He stays late when the team needs him. In meetings, he makes sure everyone gets heard before he offers his own opinion. When there is credit to be distributed, he spreads it. When there is blame to be assigned, he absorbs more than his share to protect the people around him. Daniel is, by every reasonable measure, a genuinely good person. Rachel is also good, but Rachel operates differently. When she completes a project that goes well, she makes sure the right people know what she contributed to it, not in a way that is loud or aggressive. But she is precise about it. When a decision is being made that affects her work, she is in that conversation. She does not wait to be invited. When someone takes credit for something she did, she corrects the record. Calmly, without drama, but she corrects it. When she disagrees with a direction, she says so clearly, with her reasoning, and she does not walk it back because the room goes quiet. 3 years pass. Daniel is still liked by everyone. He is the person people go to when they need support. He is the person who gets thanked in team presentations. He is the person everyone says they could not do it without. Rachel is promoted, and Daniel, for the first time, is forced to sit with a question he does not want to ask. What did she do that I did not? And the honest answer is both simple and devastating. Rachel understood something that Daniel never fully accepted, that being good and being effective are not the same thing, that being generous and being strategic are not opposites, but that you have to know which one the moment requires, that protecting your interests is not selfishness. It is the basic condition for still being in a position to help anyone at all. Daniel gave everything, and he gave it without tracking whether the giving was building anything. He gave to be liked. Rachel gave selectively, and she built while she gave. She gave her effort to the projects that mattered. She gave her loyalty to the people who earned it. She gave her visibility to the moments that created real leverage. And when she did not give, she did not apologize for it. Daniel spent 3 years being the most generous person in the room. Rachel spent 3 years being the most strategic. And the company, like most systems in the world, rewarded the one who understood the system, not the one who trusted the system to notice their goodness and reward it eventually. The invisible tax of nice. There is a tax that good people pay that nobody talks about. It is not visible on any balance sheet, but it compounds over time with the same quiet devastation as any bad financial decision. The tax is this: every time you absorb conflict that was not yours to absorb, you pay. Every time you let someone take credit that belonged to you because claiming it felt immodest, you pay. Every time you over-deliver on a commitment to someone who under-delivers on theirs and then say nothing, you pay. Every time you stay quiet in a room where you should have spoken because you did not want to seem difficult, you pay. Every time you negotiate against yourself for the other person has said a word because you want to seem reasonable, you pay. None of these payments feel large in the moment. Each one feels like the right thing to do, like the mature thing, like the thing a person with good values does. But here's what they are actually doing over time. They are teaching the people around you how to treat you. And what they are learning is this person will give more if I push. This person will back down if I hold firm. This person values my approval of them more than they value their own position. This person can be managed. And once that belief is established in the people around you, it is very difficult to undo. Because the moment you try to stop absorbing what you have always absorbed, you will be seen as having changed, as having become difficult, as having lost what made you likable. And the irony is devastating. The behaviors that made people like you are the same behaviors that cost you the respect that would have made them treat you better. Likable and respectable are not the same thing. And in most professional and social environments, when forced to choose, people protect the interests of the ones they respect over the ones they simply like. Daniel was liked. Rachel was respected. And the system promoted the one it respected, not the one it liked. How to stay good and stop losing. Here is the part that matters most. Because the answer to why good people lose is not stop being good. That is the wrong lesson. The answer is stop confusing goodness with passivity. And stop treating your niceness as a strategy when it is actually a vulnerability. And start making 4 specific shifts in how you operate. First, separate your identity from your approval. The core of the approval trap is this belief, usually unconscious: if someone is unhappy with me, something is wrong with me. That belief will cost you everything if you do not challenge it. Because in any environment, in my opinion, where real stakes exist, someone will be unhappy with you regularly. That is not a sign that you have failed. That is a sign that you are making real decisions with real consequences. Start noticing when you are softening a position, backing down from something true, or absorbing blame you do not own, specifically because you want someone to remain comfortable with you. And ask yourself once, Is their comfort with me worth what I am giving up to maintain it? Often, it is not. And the moment you start making that calculation consciously rather than instinctively, the approval trap begins to lose its grip. Second, make your contributions visible. This is the one good people resist most because it feels like self-promotion, and self-promotion feels like it contradicts being good. But here's the reality. If the people who make decisions about your career, your opportunities, your position in any system do not know what you actually contribute, they cannot factor it in. They are not ignoring you. They are working with the information they have. And if you have decided that making your contributions visible is beneath you, you have decided to be evaluated on incomplete information. That is not humility. That is abdication. Make your work visible, not constantly, not loudly, but precisely, at the moments when it matters, to the people for whom it matters. Third, protect your positions under pressure. Good people have a reflex. When they feel pushback, they immediately scan for the part of their position that might be wrong. They find it, they acknowledge it, they offer it as a concession, and the other person, who was not actually right, walks away with more than they deserve. The reflex itself is not the problem. Being able to see the weakness in your own argument is genuinely valuable. The problem is doing it in real time. Under pressure is a way of managing the discomfort of conflict. Practice holding your position for longer, not because you are certain you are right, but because the discomfort of being challenged is not evidence that you are wrong. Let the pressure exist. Sit with it. Evaluate your position after the pressure passes, not in response to it. And if you still believe you are right to that, say so, without apology. Fourth, choose where to be generous. Generosity is not the problem. Generosity without strategy is. Daniel was generous everywhere, with everyone, all the time, without tracking whether the generosity was building anything or simply being consumed. Yesapta, Rachel was generous at the moments and toward the people and in the projects where that generosity created real compound returns. The shift is not from generous to calculating. The shift of, how do you say, from unconscious giving to an intentional giving. Ask yourself that honestly, am I giving this because it serves something I actually believe in? Or am I giving it because I am afraid of what happens if I do not? The first kind of giving is powerful. The second kind is the invisible tax. Know the difference and stop paying the tax. Systems do not reward goodness, they reward legibility. Here is something that took me a long time to understand. Organizations, markets, social systems, none of them reward goodness directly. They cannot, because goodness is internal. It lives inside a person's intentions, their values, their private commitments to doing the right thing. And systems cannot see intentions. Systems can only see behavior. Specifically, they can see legible behavior, behavior that is clear, consistent, and easy to interpret. And this is where good people lose again and again without understanding why. A good person assumes that their goodness is visible, that their intentions communicate themselves, that the quality of their character comes through in how they work, how they treat people, how they show up every day. And to the people who are close enough to see all of that, maybe it does. But systems do not run on closeness. Systems run on information that travels. And the information that travels is not your character. It is your track record as it has been communicated upward and outward by people who have an interest in how that information lands. Here is what this means in practice. If you do extraordinary work and say nothing about it, the information that travels is whatever someone else decides to carry. If you absorb a failure that was not yours and say nothing, the information that travels is that the failure happened on your watch. If you consistently deliver and consistently give credit away, the information that travels is that your team delivers, not you, your team. And this is not injustice. This is just how information moves in systems where no one has time to verify everything firsthand. Rachel understood this. She did not do less good work. She made sure that when good work happened, the signal that traveled was accurate. She did not take credit that was not hers. She made sure the credit that was hers did not get redistributed before it reached the people who needed to know. That is not politics. That is basic professional literacy. And good people, in their commitment to being above the game, often refuse to learn it, and they lose because of it. Not because the world is corrupt, because they opted out of a literacy that everyone else was quietly acquiring. The good news is this: that literacy is learnable. It does not require you to become someone that you are not. It does not require you to be dishonest or aggressive or to play in ways that compromise what you believe. It only requires you to stop assuming that the right people already know what you have done and to start making sure they do. So here is the question I want you to sit with after this. Think about the last time you lost something that you should have had: a position, a deal, a recognition, an opportunity. Was it because you were outworked, or was it because you outworked everyone and then assumed the work would speak for itself? Was it because you were dishonest? Or was it because you were so committed to being seen as honest and fair that you negotiated against yourself? Was it because you had nothing to offer? Or was it because you offered everything without making sure the people who mattered knew it came from you? Good people do not lose because they are good. They lose because they confuse being good with being passive. They confuse being kind with having no limits. They confuse being fair with making themselves the easiest person in the room to take from. The world does not punish goodness. The world is simply indifferent to it unless you learn to operate inside it with the same intentionality that everyone else already has. You can be good and still hold your ground. You can be honest and still make your work visible. You can be generous and still protect your interests. These are not contradictions. They are the complete version of what it actually means to be effective. So the real question is not whether you are a good person. You probably are. The question is whether you are going to stay good and keep losing, or whether you are going to stay good and finally start winning. Leave your answer in the comments, because I genuinely want to know, where does this show up in your life? Where are you still paying the invisible tax?